Thank you very much for attending my session. I want to tell you a little bit about how I'm using Microsoft Teams, how we are using this in my company, and a little bit about the history, the whole story. So before I start, thanks to our sponsors. Without them, such an event wouldn't be possible. And now some few words about myself, so you know who's talking there. My name is Nicole Enders. I'm working for Conet, that's a company in Germany, and my main focus is social intranet, modern workplace, and collaboration. I've written several books about this topic because in 2007 I started with SharePoint, so you see a few of them are focused on SharePoint, and my last book focused on collaboration with Office 365. You see also my contact information. You will find this on the last slide as well. And then let's start. If we are talking about collaboration, then I want to take you on a journey some years ago, how it was working, and I start in a private area. So if you see these movie cassettes, these are the oldest movie cassettes I can remember, so maybe you get a clue about my age. Yeah, and if I remember how it was in the past when I wanted to watch a movie, then if you hadn't this movie at home, then you had to go to movie library. You had to pick up the movie you wanted. If you were lucky, it was there. Otherwise, somebody else rented it at the moment. Yeah, and then you came back home and you watched the movie. And if you forgot to bring it back in time, then you had to pay some extra money. Yeah, and what about nowadays? Nowadays, you can stream a video, so you can use Netflix, Amazon Prime, whatever streaming service you want to use, and it doesn't matter if somebody else is watching the same movie at the same time, and you don't have to bring it back. So it's another user experience as compared with the past. Communication has changed as well. So communication becomes faster and faster. If you see these mailboxes, yeah, I remember at the time while I was writing letters, and then I sent the letter to somebody else, and I had to wait for the answer, and I had to wait a long time. So I didn't know if the letter is still on its way, or if, for example, my friend received the letter. Is he answering, or did he understand something in a different way as I meant it to be? So it was quite different. Today I can use some instant messaging tool, and then I see, okay, he received the message, he's answering. Oh my God, he stopped answering. Maybe I can give him some more information, so I start typing, and then I give him more information, and so we have a much faster conversation right now. Yeah, and what am I using? I'm using my smartphone, and my smartphone is so much more than a phone was in the past. So if you see this dial phone, I remember the phone in the living room of my parents. So when I wanted to call somebody, I had to sit in this living room, and everybody could listen what I was talking with the other person about. And now most of us have a smartphone. We can use it everywhere where we are. And it's not only a phone, it's our communication central, and maybe it's also our location where we find some documents. So you don't have most of these documents on your table anymore. Maybe you have a digital form, and then you can read or maybe edit your documents right from your smartphone or a tablet or your notebook, for example. So many things have changed. For document management, it's, for example, that if I have a confidential document right in here in the stack, then I have to decide if I find this document and put it into a locker, or if I say, okay, I have no clue where this document is located, so maybe I put whole the stack into my locker, and then somebody needs a document. What should I do? I have different possibilities. Maybe I give the key to the person who wants this document, but then he or she would have access to all of these documents. Or I have to go to the locker, find the right document, and give it to this person. So in a digital world, we have many other possibilities. So that's what I want to talk about with you, because it's all about choosing the right collaboration tools. And in my projects, I like to talk about use cases. So which use cases can we identify to support collaboration, and how can we get the right mix of these tools, because too many tools would confuse the users. So maybe you only choose a few of them. Yeah, and that was the same in my company a few years ago when we decided to go with Office 365. We started with our main use cases, and the first one was working together on a document. So if I think many years ago, then we had the situation that somebody, for example, was writing a proposal, and then he needed the support of other colleagues, and he sent this document as an email attachment, maybe to 3 different people. Yeah, and one of them forwarded this document to another person. Yeah, in the end, the original editor became 5 or 6 versions of his proposal, and then he had to work to get all this information together in one document. So our first use case was a central location for all documents, and SharePoint, for example, is the tool you can use for this use case. So we started with this one. The next 3 bullet points here, it's all about sharing information. So maybe you want to have a conversation with somebody in an ad hoc way, so that would be some kind of instant messaging. Or maybe you want to spread company-wide information, for example, your HR department or the internal communication department wants to share information with the whole company. And that's some kind of an intranet scenario if you are thinking about the classic intranet. Yeah, and last but not least, building a corporate network was also a topic for us, because we are a bigger company, and I don't meet everybody when I'm working in the office. So maybe I don't meet a person who has similar interests than I, or I don't get the information that in another department some of my colleagues are working for the same customer as I. So building a corporate network can support the information flow. So we get the information who is working for which customers, what are the most important topics in the different departments, and so on. And if you have a solution for building a corporate network, then you can think about external networks as well. So maybe you want to collaborate with your partners, your customers, or you want to use it as a kind of marketing mechanism. So you can think about this as well. Here, and the next issues here are managing tasks and sharing knowledge. That's, in my case, it's more regarding working in a project. So if I have some project work to do, then we have tasks and we assign them to the different team members. We want to share our knowledge. So that if, for example, a project is completed, you want to have some kind of a documentation so that the other employees can use this knowledge for the upcoming projects. And if you're not working for a project, maybe you need some business processes. Maybe you want to go on a vacation. And so you want one environment where you can do all the stuff you need to do during your daily business. These were the use cases we were talking about when we introduced Office 365 in our company. And we said, okay, there are so many tools right there. We have to decide which tools are the best to start with. And we chose SharePoint and Yammer. Why didn't we choose Teams? Because it was not there yet. So we started with Yammer for our conversation part. And then 1 year later, Microsoft Teams appeared on the horizon, and we had to think about what were I doing with Teams now. In my department, we are working with our customers, and we tell them how you can use Office 365. So we were the first ones who started trying Microsoft Teams. What can we do with this tool? Do we have some similarities regarding Yammer, or what is the main difference? And why are we using Microsoft Teams now? For me, Microsoft Teams is now the most important application. That's the first application I start every morning. I have checked this option that it started automatically, and it's my collaboration tool. So in the past, the first application every morning was Microsoft Outlook, because I've got a lot of emails, but that has changed. So today, when I think about the internal communication, then most of the communication is done here in Microsoft Teams. I have some instant chat possibilities to stay in touch with different people. I have my project teams, and I have also a team for my organizational team I'm working in. And one important point is also that I can integrate different services. So I can add a tab to add a plan, so to manage my tasks. I can add external websites or applications. Maybe you use some special applications in your company which are web-based, and you can integrate them as well. And I really like the mobile application. It's available for Android and iOS. And even in the morning, when I have not started my PC yet, and I want to see what was going on Teams, then I use the app and I see, okay, you've got a chat message from this colleague. Okay, maybe that's the first one I do when I start my PC. And I think most of you will know what Microsoft Teams looks like, but I want to make sure that everybody gets the overview. So here's an example of Microsoft Teams. It's the desktop application I've used here, and you have here your list of your teams. You will also have a list of hidden teams. A team can move to the hidden teams when you didn't use it for a longer time, or if you say, I want to hide this team. For example, in demos, I'm using this feature when I have some teams there I want to show in the live demo. And you have different options for teams. So you have the option that you can create a private team. In this case, you can select the team members, and only these team members will see this team. But you can also select the option that it's a public team, and then everybody will find it if he searches for new teams, and he can become a new team member by his own. And the third option, that's an org-wide team. So you can decide to create an org-wide team. For example, here the CONET team I have here is such an example. And that can be some kind of an intranet-related team. So you could create channels for HR, for the marketing team, or maybe with a channel for corporate news. So it's up to you what you want to do there. And in an org-wide team, everybody in your company is a team member automatically. But please be aware about some limitations. I think at the moment it's 5,000 team members you can have there. So for bigger companies, maybe that's not an option to do this. If you have a team, then you can create some channels, and you have the option between a standard channel, so every team member can join this channel. He can post messages, he can see all messages and so on. And the other option would be a private channel. That's the management channel here, for example. Then you have this locker symbol. And then you can decide who of your team members does have access to the private channel. And then you have some kind of a sub part here in your team. For example, I said, I think the example with the management channel can be nice, because if I'm thinking about an organizational unit who has a team right here, then maybe the manager wants to have a separated part for his work, and then you have the relation between the team with all the channels you are using there and your private information. You don't want to see that, don't want that everybody sees this. You can also see new messages. There are different ways to see this. So maybe here, the IT service news, I see, okay, there are some unread messages. In the daily stand-up, I have markers. So I see, okay, somebody posted something which is related to me. And I have here on the left bar, I have some notifications. So I see, okay, somebody mentioned me in a team and it's unread so far. I have one unread chat message. And if I want to see an aggregated view about all the activities in Microsoft Teams, then I go with the activity notification and see everything in this aggregated view. At the top, you have a search and command bar. Search is quite easy because we have the search bar in all the Office products at this position right now. But I also like the command options we have there. So you can change your status information via some commands. You can also switch very easily to another channel. So maybe you have a team which is in the hidden list of the teams, and you want to switch to a special channel right there, then you can use the go to command here in this bar and switch to the channel. And you can also start chat messages and phone calls right there as well. And last but not least on this slide, you have also the option to collaborate with your customers and your partners. So maybe if you don't have used this function so far, then you don't see this option. It would be on the left of your profile icon. But if you are invited to another tenant, then you will see this option. And we use it to work together with our customers. So maybe our customer says, okay, I don't want to send emails anymore. I want to use Microsoft Teams. I've set up a team for us, but he wants to have all this data in his tenant. Then he says, okay, I create this team right there and I add you as a guest member, and then you can access this, this information. We can collaborate there, work together on documents and so on. And for me, in my daily work, that means, okay, I start every morning in my Conet tenant. I'm checking all this information, and then I switch to the tenant of one of our customers. I read this information right there. I work together with my customer, maybe on a concept document, and then I switch back to my tenant, or maybe if I work for another customer on this day, I can switch to the tenant of the other customer. So, and now it's time for a live demo, because I've talked so much about via the slide. Maybe you want to see this in real life. And we go here. I've opened this in the browser because I'm using the desktop application now for this event. And as you can see here on the left side, I have my teams, and I prefer that I have an own picture for my team, because then I can recognize it very easily. So I know, okay, this picture, it's some team picture right there. That's for my organizational unit, and here I'm working so much time every day, so that is the one who's opened right here. And I have, as you can see here, a lot of hidden channels. I've hidden them because that is information I'm not allowed to show you, but you can use this hidden channel feature as well if you have too many channels and you want to focus on some special channels right here in this open view. When you create a new team, then you start with the general channel, and there's no more channel at this moment. And for some teams, that is enough. So we started, for example, with only this one channel, and then after a few weeks, we recognized, oh my God, we have different kind of information right here, and we want to help us to find this information a little bit easier. So we created a new channel. That was, for example, we had the general channel, and then we said maybe we need a general help channel to talk about some problems we have during our project work. And if you ask some of our other team members if he has an idea, then we can use this channel right here. I've also created here a channel for some technical ideas or for some updates I want to share. And here, for example, I tried it with the private channels. And today I posted, oh, okay, custom background images are coming. They're not here so far. I think they will be rolled out at the mid of April until May. But I'm really excited that we get these custom background images, because today when you start an online meeting here in Teams, then you can choose if you show your background as it is, or if you use this blurred background. But I think these custom background images will be very nice. So it seems that you are sitting at the beach, or you are using Teams out of a forest or something else. So that will be quite nice. And I posted it here. Maybe if I want to add something new, most of the time I'm using only this line, so I can start typing, I can mention somebody, but if I want to create a message which looks a little bit different, I have some other options. So I can decide if I want to start this as a new conversation, or if I choose the option that it's an announcement. And in at this point, I can choose between different pictures or colors for this headline. I can type here my headline, I have a subheader, and then I can add my message. And this can be an option if you don't have an internet at the moment, and you're thinking, okay, I want to introduce Microsoft Teams. Maybe I can create an org-wide team. And then you can use this functionality with the announcements for information like corporate news or news of the HR department. And you can also decide who can reply to this message. Maybe you want some messages where everyone can reply. That's a default for all the messages. Or you can say, okay, I only want that I and some other moderators can reply. Maybe for a corporate news, so you don't want that everybody can reply right here. So this option is there. And you have also the option to post in multiple channels. So for example, when I post this message right here, then it's only in this special channel. But maybe if you are thinking about some organizational news, then you could decide, okay, the main focus is right here in this channel, but I want to publish it as well in another team, maybe for your department or for the whole company. That could be an option here. And last but not least, you can also mark a message as important. So I've done this, for example, here in another channel. I created a message where I wanted to tell my team that I need some information. I created with Microsoft Forms a form where I added a lot of questions, and then I wrote this message right here. Okay, I need your support. Please fill out this form. There's a due date and so on. And I said here, okay, that's important. So I have this icon right here, and I have also this red line here on the left side. Okay, that's for messages. That's the same when you want to reply to something, then you have also per default this line, and you can extend it so you have some more formatting options, and you have also here this option if it's an important answer or not. You could also say, okay, maybe I want to go with some emojis, GIFs, memes. Memes are the stickers where I can edit the text. So I recognize that my team gets really crazy about these GIFs and these memes. So sometimes we have a conversation which is really, really fast. And that's why, that's because they are using these images, because you know that an image tells you so much more than 1,000 words and so on. So and it's fun if you are using this. And last but not least, you see this here for the answers, but as well here for a new message. You can say, okay, I want to start a meeting. So first it's some kind of a phone call, but you have the option to turn your camera on and to have a video call, and then somebody can share his screen as well. So for my team, for example, we have here the separate daily stand-up channel. That's the option where we say, okay, every day at a special time. For us, it's nearly lunchtime. We have a daily stand-up, and we are using this Meet Now option to talk about what we are doing on this day, if you have some problems and so on. And regarding the current situation where most of us are in working from the home office, it's quite important that we turn the camera on, we see each other, because we don't have the option to see us in real life at the moment. And we would also have the option to record such a meeting. So if you say there's something special, some important news are shared here, then you could say, okay, start a recording of the session. And then also these team members who cannot join the meeting can watch the recording later on. And This is the same for trainings and workshops. So if we are doing trainings and we try to do this every month for a whole day, then it doesn't matter if everybody of us is at the same room. We say we want to record this meeting because we are sharing so much information right there. And a few weeks later, you remember that you have learned something new and maybe you could use it now in your project. But for me, sometimes it's so that I don't remember the exact solution. And then it's nice to use the recording. I know so roundabout when we talked about this, and then I can go to the right position in the recording and watch this part, get my information, and then I can use this in my project. So that's why we have this separate channel right here as well, because we wanted to get this information quite easily. We have also pre-sales channels. So if we have to do some pre-sales, for example, we support one of our sales manager and we are going with them to the customer. Maybe before this meeting, we have to prepare a presentation. Then we can do this here in this pre-sales channel, work together on this, these slides, and then we can use this later on. And I can also get the information right there when I have this next pre-sales meeting. I remember, okay, for the pre-sales appointment in February, for example, I've used some slides and I need them now as well. Then I can go here to the Files tab and get the right presentation right there. What did I skip? I skipped these two channels right here. So that's quite interesting because this prefix P, it's for project, because we have some projects we are working on only in our team, so in this organizational unit, and we talked about when should we create a new team. We need a new team in Teams when we have other people working with us together. So, for example, you start here with a channel because you, in the other case, you only would have a new team with a general channel. And we said, okay, maybe here's this profile DB project. It's quite small. A few people of our team are working right there, so a channel is maybe enough. In another case, we started with a channel right here for a project, and then we had the situation that we got more team members and we needed more channels. One wasn't enough up to a special moment, and then we said, okay, that's the end for the channel right here in this team. We create a new team and move the documents right there. The conversation stayed in this channel right here, so it was here some kind of archived, and then we got here join or create a new team. We created a new team here from scratch because we don't have a template at the moment for project teams. If you would have such a template, then we could say, okay, create a new project team right from this template we have here. If I say from scratch, here I can, it was too fast. I can say here, okay, I want to create a private team, for example. I give it a name, and then I can create it, and the next step would be that I assign the team members right here to this new team. So I say discard. Yeah, that's one case. So in some situations, it makes sense that you have a special project team. For example, that's here. That's here an example team we have here with the general channel, and then maybe some more channels. For example, that's here for some organizational stuff right here, for development and so on. So we start here with the project work, and then we can use the files tab, which is SharePoint in the background, so we can work together on documents. Maybe you want to add some processes for approval or so on. That would be done via Power Automate. We have the wiki structure right here for some notes we want to take, and then you can add more and more tabs, so every team can be some kind of individual. So for example, as I said, for my team I created a form. I could add this as a tab as well. Maybe I have a special Excel file or some PowerPoint slides I want to share here, or in the case of the workshops and trainings, maybe I have a recording of the last workshop and I want to add it as a channel, then I could do this here as well. And if we scroll down here, we have so many options regarding external services. So if you are using some of these services, you can add them here to Microsoft Teams as well. When your administrator allows this. So per default, you have this whole list, but in the admin center, the administrator can select the applications who will be available for you. So if you don't find this whole list right here, then it can be that your administrator removes these options for you. Okay. We have talked about projects. If you create a channel, or if you create a special team. We have talked about different channels, if they are private or if they are standard. Maybe we see this option right here. If I say, okay, I want to add a channel right here, then everybody was waiting for private channels. So I've seen a lot of discussions, mainly on Twitter. When should we use these private channels? I presented the idea, maybe it's for a management team. If you want to have some private area where you can add documents and where you can have a conversation. Another use case could be, maybe you want to work together with some customers or partners in your team, and you add them as a guest. As a guest, they can see every standard channel. So maybe you need some private area for your own employees, so you can call it internal, this channel, and it would be a private channel as well. But please be aware that a private channel has some limitations. So I go to one of my private channels here at the moment. And if I go to this one, you have here these posts, that's the conversation, you have the files. But for example, you are missing the wiki. And if you want to add a new tab, then there are some limitations as well. So for example, you don't find planner here in the list. You find some SharePoint options because a private channel is a separate site collection in SharePoint. You can also add a SharePoint list, and you can add documents because that's all related to SharePoint. OneNote as well. But then there aren't so many options for an integration because it is a different technical mechanism right there. and you have to know about this. So I had a talk with a customer who started creating different private channels in a team because he wanted to do some kind of a org-wide team, but then he wanted to have private channels for different departments. And then he said, okay, you talked so much about what I can do in a normal channel, with adding planner, with adding stream and so on. And then I recognized it isn't working. And I had told my customer, yeah, I'm sorry, but private channels, that's completely different. So you have to think about if private channels are the right option for you. So that's why I'm talking about what is going on there, and that you have to know. Maybe you have to think about if in our a private channel is the right option for you. So here's my post. Maybe I discard this. Yeah, and there's some other options. So maybe if we are thinking about the teams here, per default they are ordered in the way where they are added to you. If you create the teams, then it's when you create a new team, it appears at the bottom. But then you say, okay, maybe this team is more important for me, and I move it here to the top. So it's only drag and drop. It's quite easy where you can do this. And you could also say, okay, maybe I need some special information right here. So I say, oh, okay, this channel is important. I want to pin this, so it doesn't matter if this team is here visible per default. I have my most important channels here at the top, so it's easy. And if I say, okay, I don't need it anymore, then I can unpin as well. So everything's here fine. And as we saw here in this this menu as well, a channel has an email address. So for example, in my Outlook, I have some quick steps. So when I receive an email and I want to forward it here to Microsoft Teams, then I can use my quick step, say, okay, please forward me this email to the general channel here in this developer team. And then the email appears here in the conversation part as the usual post. I can talk with my team members about this email message, and every team member would have the option to open this email and to answer this email. So this can be some kind of a ticketing process if you want to use this. I've checked this out, so in some cases it's really nice to use this feature. Yeah, and channel notifications. You can use channel, or in general all the notifications, with the setting that you get an email message about the different activities. I don't use this because I want to get rid of emails, but maybe that's an option if you say, okay, I need this information, I want to have it as some kind of a task list or so. Then you can configure this notifications, and you use the tool you are used to work with. But I said, okay, for me it's a change. I want to go with Microsoft Teams now. I want to use it on my smartphone to stay in touch with everybody, and this is the option for me. And here, last but not least, on this list here are the connectors. So we saw some kind of connectors when we want to add a tab. because I can add these external services like a Twitter, for example. But I can also use here connectors. So maybe I want a post here in the conversation every time when there's some new information on Twitter, Facebook, and co. So I can use the available connectors of the external service providers. And if you have some special business applications and you want to integrate them here in your environment, then you have also the option to create custom connectors and use them in the different teams. That's also an option. And some connector can, for example, be created via a flow in Power Automate. So if you configure a flow, then you can use it here as a connector. So, and regarding the time, I go back to my slides because I have one last topic right here. And that's the comparison between Microsoft Teams and Yammer. Tomorrow I have a second session which focuses on the coexistence of Teams and Yammer, because as I said in the introduction, we are using Yammer and Teams, and Yammer was the first collaboration tool we used in our company beside SharePoint. So here is a short comparison. Tomorrow will be more in detail. We have a look here on the use cases I talked about at the beginning. So working together on a document, you can't make a difference between Teams and Yammer because it's SharePoint behind both tools. So if you create a team and you have a channel, then this channel is a folder in a document library in SharePoint. So every document added to a channel in the Files tab is working with the SharePoint document library right there. Yammer can be the same. An administrator can configure that if you create a Yammer group, that you don't have such a SharePoint site behind it. But if it's activated per default, and if you don't change something at the settings, then you would have a SharePoint site at the backend as well. And from your Yammer group, you can switch to the SharePoint site. You can add documents and work with them together, but then it's not Yammer, so it's SharePoint at this moment. So maybe let's focus on the information area. So talking with somebody, exchange information with each other in an ad hoc way. We have this chat functionality in Teams, and it's possible to use different formatting options to go with emojis, with some GIFs and so on. And you have also the option to add more people to a conversation. So maybe you start talking with one person and then you need somebody else. You can add them to the chat, and then it turns into a group chat, and you can decide if the new person can see the whole history of the chat or if he only sees the new messages. And you can even start a phone call or a video call right from this chat. So you have many different options. And in Yammer, you have this option with private chats, but it's only a chat. So you send a private message to somebody and he can answer you, but you don't have so much formatting options, and you don't have the options to start phone or video calls. So there is some plus on the team side. Spreading company-wide information is a little bit different because yes, you have the option to create an org-wide team in Teams, but you have this limitation with the 5,000 people. And in Yammer, you have the option to use the Companywide group, and it's there per default, and you don't have a limitation right there. So in both tools, you have the option to go with company-wide information, but Yammer, it's a little bit easier, and the technical limits are less than in Teams. Building a corporate network and maybe an external network, that's also more on the Yammer side, because in Yammer, it's some kind of a Facebook for the company, so you can create groups, you can talk about different topics, and in our company, it's more that in Teams we are using the private Teams option, and in Yammer we are using more the public Yammer group option. So everybody can see the conversations in Yammer. He can join a new Yammer group and talk about different topics. For example, if you have a group about artificial intelligence or some activities you are doing, then you are going to Yammer and you have this networking part, and in Teams you are more doing your project work. You are working with tasks, maybe with a planner integration or the integration of another tool you are using, which is not Microsoft related. And so we are coming to the primary purpose. Microsoft Teams is the tool to work with people you are working very close together. So that's a project team and maybe an organizational unit. And Yammer is more for a company network, maybe for some kind of knowledge management and exchanging information with people you don't work so close with. That's not the solution for everybody, I know, but for us and for a lot of customers, it's working quite good. So I want to share this as a best practice with you. And
Great.
that's it. So thanks to the sponsors again.